Hello and welcome to Hop on Pop Culture. I'm your host, Ashley Dion, and I will today be discussing my favorite films of 2010, as well as those considered by some to be worthy of awards. Unfortunately, I have to leave out Welcome to the Rileys, Rabbit Hole, and Blue Valentine because I haven't had the opportunity to see them. But of the ones I have seen, my two favorite films of 2010 are Never Let Me Go and Black Swan. Black Swan is by Darren Aronofsky, who is one of my two favorite directors. I will say I don't think that Black Swan is his masterpiece because The Fountain isn't a film, it's a message from a higher power, but Black Swan is a very impressive film. Like The Wrestler, this is an actor's piece. Mickey Rourke had to completely transform his body for The Wrestler, and Natalie Portman had to do the same for Black Swan. She and Mila Kunis were both very skinny, completely emaciated, and they had to become ballerinas, and they did. Natalie Portman had to carry this film on her back like Atlas. The film was built around her and would be made or broken based on her performance and her performance alone, and she rose to the challenge. She transformed not only physically, but her personality transformed completely. She, at the beginning, was this childlike, sheltered, sort of shy character, and by the end of the film, that was completely obliterated. All traces of those characteristics were gone from her. This was the greatest performance of her career. I've seen nearly all of her films and I adore her work, but I must say that this performance blows all others out of the water, and if she doesn't win an Oscar for this, I've lost all faith in the Academy, and there's no justice in the world. Moving on to Never Let Me Go. This film by Mark Romanek is utterly heartbreaking. Keep an eye on Carey Mulligan and Andrew Garfield because they're going to be huge. I must say, though, that the most moving scene in the film for me was between Carey Mulligan and Keira Knightley. In the film, they have this sort of tense friendship where sometimes they're friends and sometimes they're enemies. And there's this scene of friendship and forgiveness toward the end that's very simple, that just brought tears to my eyes, and I cried at that scene and I cried at the end, and this was the most emotional movie-going experience I had this year. So please watch this film. It's amazing. I know that some people might not want to watch it because they think there's a science fiction element that they might not like, but there is a universal theme. There's this message that even though most of us have something that we wanted to accomplish that we couldn't, that we all have to look back at the end of our life and think, what if we'd had more time? And it's tragic and it's beautiful, and I really hope you'll see Never Let Me Go. The Social Network I reviewed in a previous episode, so please go back and take a look at that if you're curious. I will say that although I think The Social Network was one of the best films of the year, I don't think it compares to Never Let Me Go and Black Swan. Winter's Bone, I was disappointed in. I'd heard that it was the best film of the year, and that we could expect some of the best performances of the year to live in that film, and I just didn't see that. It was good, it really was, but it was just good. And if Jennifer Lawrence wins an Oscar over Natalie Portman, I'm just gonna go apeshit. So that's how I feel about Winter's Bone. I was very impressed by The Kids Are Alright. I thought that everyone gave a good performance in that film, and it was fun to watch, and it was really good. I will say there was a predictable element to it, but it wasn't so predictable it was annoying. You know, it was just kind of like, oh, saw that coming. And Annette Bening getting a nomination, a Golden Globe nomination in Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy, I don't think is really fitting, because although there are comedic elements to this film, I don't think it's a comedy. And it's kind of a shame, because she could really fit into just the regular Best Actress category. And then you have someone like Emma Stone, who I thought was great in Easy A and would like to see win the Golden Globe. She probably won't have a shot because there's Annette Bening. So, I don't know how I feel about that. But The Kids Are Alright is a great movie, and I hope that you see it. Moving on to Somewhere, I watched this last night, and I had been so looking forward to it because Sofia Coppola is my other favorite director besides Darren Aronofsky. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that I was disappointed, but I will say that I don't think this film was as good as Lost in Translation or The Virgin Suicides. I think it was better than Marie Antoinette, and I don't say that like, well, it was better than Marie Antoinette, because I'm not one of those people who hated Marie Antoinette, but I didn't feel as emotional watching this as I did watching Lost in Translation. To me, there was just something missing from it, but it was still a good film, because to me, Sofia Coppola is one of very few directors who's making really important films, the kinds of films that if I had the means, I would be making. Naturalistic films with a slower pacing about real people in real situations. And I feel like Sofia Coppola and David Gordon Green, not his comedies, things like All the Real Girls and Snow Angels, they're like the only two that I feel like a special connection to for that reason. And I know that there are a lot of people who will say that Somewhere is boring. And these are the same people that said that Lost in Translation was boring. But I don't see that at all. And in fact, it hurts me a little. Because to me, these action films and these comedies, they often have premises that we've seen millions of times, and that's what's boring to me. These original movies that don't have to be self-indulgent, and they're not, that deal with real things, they're important to me, and I'm so glad that someone is making them. And I wish more people would give them a chance and watch them, because they're important. And what was special to me about Somewhere were these simple moments between Stephen Dorff's character and Elle Fanning's character, his daughter, in the film. They're things that I think anyone who's had a decent relationship with their parents can relate to. And they were beautiful and perfect, because I think only when you're on the outside looking in do you realize how important these small moments with your parents can be. And I really appreciated moments in Somewhere, and it was the thing I liked most about the film. In fact, I wish we'd seen more of it. I want to say, please watch every Sofia Coppola film that you can get your hands on, now and always, because she is a wonderful writer and a wonderful director. And I want to say, please watch every Elle Fanning movie that you can get your hands on, because this kid is going to give amazing performances for years to come, and I can just tell that about her. She's got something special. She's my favorite Fanning. So check out Elle, keep an eye on her. Thanks so much. These were my favorite films of 2010, and I appreciate you accepting my feedback on them.